joined now by the Philly native, the former St. Joe Hawk, and the current Delaware Bluecoat, Charlie Brown Jr. Charlie, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlie, we're able to make the trip here over to the Bluecoats a few months back, a little transition for you to get over here. Just talk a little bit about how that went, how you found out you were going to come here to Delaware, play with the Bluecoats, and kind of that whole journey to get you here.
So it was before USA Basketball. I did USA Basketball previous. And my agent called me, said I got this opportunity for me. And I thought about it with my parents, and we made it happen. It was one phone call situation. And once I found out I was coming here, it was kind of ironic because this previous summer we was playing runs down here, and it was just good to feel the energy in the building.
And Charlie, you guys have been hot right now, winning a few in a row here. How does it feel for you guys to have that success so far since you've been here and kind of reel off some wins?
I think it's good. I think we got some momentum from their last season. They was in the finals last season, so I think it's carrying on, and we're all clicking, we're all playing well. We enjoy each other's company. It's all positive energy every time we see each other, and we get it done on the court. And
yeah, absolutely. And Charlie, here in Wilmington, here for Good Morning Wilmington, playing with the Delaware Bluecoats. Just talk a little bit about here, the area, here being in Delaware, the first state, obviously a little new to you, but talk a little bit about what it's like being here in the state of Delaware playing for the Bluecoats.
It's fun. I mean, it's about like 45-minute drive from my actual home where I grew up. So it's good. We got some good food spots out here. There's Tasties.
Oh, Tasties.
Tasties 302 right there on Market Street. I think me and my teammates, we all go there all the time and just get their food. It's really good. That's pretty much it. I spend time with my teammates. We live in the building right there on Market Street, so we just chill, play the game, and just enjoy each other's company.
And again, obviously, part of that St. Joe's program, 2018, 2019. Why don't you walk us through just your journey for declaring for the NBA draft back in 2019, the different stops you've been, and now here in the G League with the Delaware Bluecoats?
So I did 3 years at St. Joe's. I played 2 and sat 1. I fractured my wrist. So that was a little journey in itself, and I learned a lot about myself and what I can handle, what I can't handle, what I need to be more familiar with. And I think after my junior season, I think it was time for me to declare for the draft. I talked with my parents and my agent. It was a good decision. I went undrafted, but the same draft night, Atlanta called me, and I got a 2-way with Atlanta and just went on from there.
Yeah, and obviously now with the Delaware Bluecoats and having a great season, 17 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game. Obviously, you're a guard here for the Delaware Bluecoats. Why don't you talk a little bit about that mentality you need to have on the glass? Obviously, 8.6 rebounds for a guard, doing some stuff right there. What is kind of your mentality out on the court? Obviously, with scoring 17 points a game, but also getting some of those rebounds when your team needs them.
Me and Coach Kobe, we always talk about. He always preached to me like just be effective in everything you do, and just always have a purpose when you're on the floor. Never sit around and not talk or not do anything. Make sure you're always effective, and it pays off. I try to do what's best for the team, and that's been giving us wins, so I try to be consistent with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going off of that, what are some maybe the goals that you've set for yourself, maybe when you entered the G League, maybe now when you got to Delaware, when you got to the Bluecoats? Where's your mind been, and what kind of goals do you have for yourself and maybe the team as we progress here this year?
I think coming in the NBA and the G League, my number one goal is to be a good defender. In college, it was kind of sometimes I'd be a good defender, sometimes I wouldn't. So that was the main thing for me, and just to become a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a little bit about your game. Is there a specific area of your game that you've noticeably seen improve since you got to the G League? Obviously, the G League, one of the toughest leagues in the world for basketball, right there underneath the NBA. Just talk about the G League as a whole, how maybe your thoughts coming in, what you kind of expected when you got there, and now that you've been there for a few years, kind of what it's like playing with a lot of talent there in the G League.
It's tough. When I first came in, I didn't know what to expect. And my first go around, I realized like every team is loaded with pros and good players that do everything well. So you got to find ways to be effective, like I said earlier, and get better each game, because that's essentially what you want as a basketball player. Get better practice, get better day to day, game to game. So
Yeah, and now going back to that area that I just talked about, maybe somewhere specifically, is there an area to your game when you declared for the draft or when you got in the G League that you knew you needed to improve on, and something that you've been working on specifically here these last couple of years?
Definitely my ball handling.
Ball
for
handling,
sure. Yeah. When I was in St. Joe's, I was more of a catch and shoot and like put it on the ground once or twice. But now, since I'm on the ball, it gives our offense. It's more versatile. So me on the ball it's been going really well for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously a showcase coming up here in just a little bit. That's when they're going to split you guys into different pods and play out basically a playoff tournament. Obviously, you know about that. What's kind of the team mentality? How's the team been maybe looking forward to that? And what kind of you expect when you make that trip here in a little while?
We kind of keep it in the present. Like coach always, pre-practice, we always sit and meditate for a couple minutes and just always stay in the moment. So we're not really looking towards that right now. We got a game on Friday. So
yeah, absolutely.
We're going to focus on that and give it all we got.
And Charlie, how'd you kind of get started in basketball? We're going to rewind it here a bunch, take you back maybe to when you were a kid. How'd you get started in basketball, and kind of how did that become the sport that you've grown to love so much?
It was my dad.
Your dad.
I started playing basketball when I was 3.
Oh, wow.
4.
There you go.
So I had a basketball everywhere I went. I had a court everywhere I went, and I used to watch some of his games. He went to North Carolina A&T.
Okay, perfect.
Played overseas. And just being around him and like having him as a dad, he did a great job with me and just not trying to force basketball on me, instead letting me gravitate towards it. So we still have our battles. We still talk about.
I was going to ask you now. I was like, you see one of the dads now where you guys are still going at it out there on the court. He's like, he probably still thinks he could take you out there, right?
Yeah,
one-on-one?
exactly. All the time. Every time I go home, it's always a bunch of trash talk. And he got his trophies down in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
I got a couple trophies, but it's all good, man.
Yeah, so who gets the best of each other here now? If we were to have a one-on-one right here today, you and your dad, who's getting the dub there?
I might.
You might get
it?
it?
Yeah, I might get it.
Well, there you go. And Charlie, we talked a little before we went on the air about kind of some role models or maybe some guys that you model your game after, maybe you looked up to, and you gave me a good name. And who was the guy that you kind of modeled your game after, somebody you looked up to growing up and kind of help excel your game?
Definitely George Gervin.
Yeah.
My dad, he always said, like, I always play like him. I was always long and lanky. And my favorite number is 44, I think, because of him.
There you go.
So, yeah, I always watch film on him. I always, just hear certain things about him. When I was in USA basketball previously, I had a coach down there, and he actually coached them. So it was just fun to hear their experience and how he was as a player on the court and off the court.
Yeah, and Charlie, you just mentioned USA basketball. Do you want to touch a little bit on that experience? Obviously, not a lot of people get to experience that. You mentioned a three-on-three tournament that you had played in just a little while ago.
Yep.
Why don't you just educate us a little bit on USA basketball and your role with them?
It was a month ago. It was in Miami. It was a 3-on-3 America Cup tournament. There was a bunch of teams like Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Canada. We played a lot of good talent, and we won the gold medal. And I got MVP. Oh,
how about that? You slide that in there real quickly, MVP right here in that tournament. And you just mentioned playing against different countries. Was that kind of your first experience internationally with basketball? Did you notice anything playing against countries that, maybe a little bit different than playing some guys here in the States?
That was definitely my first experience playing with anyone other than American. But they way more physical.
Way more physical.
Way more physical. They just bring a type of different energy to the game, and it's kind of contagious.
Yeah, well, there you go. Again, MVP of that tournament as well. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And obviously we were talking as well, growing up from the Philly area, a Philly native, so grew up a Sixer fan.
Yeah.
Obviously, so how is that, watching Iverson and being a chance to, check out Charles Barkley, obviously the highlights you've seen of him and growing up just as a fan of the Sixers, now being back here in the general area?
It was amazing to see, always on TV. I always try to catch every bit of Iverson I could.
Me too.
So I used to watch Charles Barkley back in the day too. My dad got old tapes of him. So it's fun being back in Philly and being back in the Sixers or in Blue Coats area. So I'm blessed to be back where I thought I could be. So. Yeah,
and we mentioned George Gervin, and now maybe I ask you your favorite six. Do you have a favorite 76er of all time? Is it AI, or you got someone else there that you like to look at?
No, I think it's AI.
AI, yeah, I have to agree with you. I'm a big AI fan myself, so he's definitely my favorite Sixer. That's something we have in common. And obviously, Charlie, you see, you brought it in. You caught me with the hats. You got the basketball. Great looking hats there. Where can people get that, man? I need one myself. Where do you get it?
They got a Delaware. They got a Blue Coats edition basketball right here. Blue coat hat and Sixer hat. couple items you could pick up at home games right there at
the field house, right?
Yeah.
So there you have it. You like those hats or basketball, head on over to the field house. The next home game's on Friday, or next home game. You can check it out at the next home game and grab a few of those hats or that special ball there. And Charlie, as we progress here today, we get a lot of young hoopers around here that watch the show, that pay attention. I call some high school games and talk to a lot of those young guys. If you could give or offer one piece of advice to those young hoopers here, how to progress their career, how to get better each and every day, what would that advice be?
I would say work hard, but at the same time, be disciplined and patient. It's not always going to click at that moment. I learned that growing up, where I always had things I would look forward to, and they wouldn't come right then and there, but I was patient enough to let things progress. And I just want to let these young kids know that the dream is still alive. It's always there, and you can do it. There you have it. Charlie Brown Jr., guard for the Delaware Bluecoats. Again, good luck with everything this upcoming season, and really appreciate you joining me this morning. Thank you. Appreciate it, bro.